Hello and welcome, DCTP.tv from the DLD16 in Munich. My name is Philipp Banse. Publishers are struggling for quite a while now how to sell their stuff online, and one promising solution is Blendle, and Alex is the founder and CEO of Blendle. Welcome to the program, Alex.
Thank you.
So how did you come up with the idea?
But basically, we came up with the idea by walking into a real physical newsstand where you could see all these covers of all these newspapers and magazines, and where on every cover there's something that we enjoyed, wanted to read, but very often we walked away buying nothing because we didn't particularly want to buy a whole magazine or a whole newspaper if we only wanted to read one story. So we started thinking, what if you could get all the beautiful journalism that's being made every day or week, put everything on one website, and let people get articles without needing a subscription? What would happen? And that's the way we founded Blendle about a year and a half ago in Holland. And we started doing this in Germany in September of last year with all major newspapers and magazines in Germany.
And the experience is pretty straightforward, right? You log onto Blendle,
Yep.
you have an account,
Yep.
and you see immediately some recommendations from your editors.
So we recommend stories from out of all newspapers and magazines based on your profile, so what topics you're interested in, what newspapers and magazines you really like. So we'll serve you more from their Spiegel if you really like their Spiegel. We let you see what your friends are sharing, what they think are really interesting. And we also have curators. So we ask these people in the field that know a lot about sports or economy or technology or whatever, we ask them to curate these channels for us, for you as a
former
user.
Bundesliga players.
There you go. Yes,
okay.
they do the sports channel. Exactly.
Okay.
So this combination of different sources, we help you find the best stuff out of everything that's being made and filter through the noise.
And how many publishers do you have on board for Germany?
Well, it's in total there's more than 130, I say from the top of my head, magazines and newspapers. And in total for Holland and Germany, it's now more than 200.
And you have all the big ones like
Yes.
Frankfurter Allgemeine, Süddeutsche, Spiegel, so everyone is on board.
Yep.
Were you surprised that they hop on that quickly?
Well, we obviously have been doing it in Holland, and in Holland I was very surprised and we actually took a long time to convince all the publishers in Holland. But after a while they all joined a year and a half ago, and they started seeing very promising results. So for example, we have more than 500,000 users, of which 1 in 5 actually start paying with real money. And these are people that normally do not really read newspapers and magazines, at least pay for it.
1 in 5, 20%.
Exactly. It's a pretty good conversion rate, actually. The people actually start paying with real money. And finally, half of the users are under 35. So they're also super young, not normally people who read newspapers and magazine articles. So that was pretty comfortable for the Dutch publishers, and we showed basically what we were doing to the German publishers. And you can always talk about an idea, but the moment that you really show it and they get to use it and see their own newspaper or magazine, that's mostly the point where they're convinced and say, all right, let's try this.
And what do you think convinced them in the end? Was it the straightforward paying process, or what was it?
I think it's a combination. I think it's a combination of making it super easy to pay, making it possible for users to get their money back if they didn't like the article. That's a very important thing that we do. Having all newspapers and all magazines, you really can find everything in there. And we help you find what's the nicest out of everything. So
Okay, let's get back to the user experience. So you have this editorial process and the recommendation engine, and then the paying process is very important. So some say, well, you pay too fast because once you click on an article, you paid already.
Yeah.
If you sign up, you get it 250 euros like in advance.
free credit. Sure.
Free credit. You can spend it to 250. And one question was, 1 in 5 is spending money. Does this include the credit?
No, of course not.
Okay,
No.
so those 1 in 5.
So everyone gets €2.50 to try it out, and then at some point the money you're out of money.
Yeah,
so then you're supposed to top up,
Okay.
and 1 in 5 actually start doing that. Yes.
Okay, and then you click on an article and you get you pay like
Immediately.
Immediately.
So we made this thing. We're sitting there with developers and we're sitting there with designers thinking like, how there's an article of 20 or 30 cents. Do we ask for confirmation for the user? Do we ask for what kind of information do we want to give it to him? And really, you don't want a 20 cents spent. You don't want it to be a big decision, but you also want to have control for a user. So when we figured what we always do is if you exit within a couple of seconds, within 10 seconds or something, it's free either way because we assume that you haven't read it. You always know it's a fair price, it's okay pricing, and you always know at the end of the article you can ask for your money back. And a combination of those things in combination with emails that we send you and explaining how it works, users are super comfortable with it. And I think that's also because they always know in the back of my mind, I click on it, but if I didn't like it, I'll just ask for my money back.
Yeah, and you have a link in the top or the end of the article. You didn't like it, you want your money back, click money back. How many people want their money back?
About 10%.
10%.
Yeah.
And how often can I want my money back?
You can. It depends on how often you spend money and how often you can get your money back.
But
so
it's
the
not
more you
unlimited.
spend, it's not unlimited. No. Because some people misuse it, and we obviously look at that, and then the button disappears at some point. But most people actually can be trusted. It's a very interesting thing. Like most people do not use the functionality if they think their article is valuable, they'll just pay for it. Which is an interesting lesson that you can actually trust your users. In Holland, in Germany, so far at least. Yeah.
They do appreciate it if you trust them, if you come forward with a straightforward experience.
So we even do fun little things like if a user copy-pasted everything to Microsoft Word and then asks for his money back, if he does that, we change the little box into saying I want my money back because, and we make the first option, we change it in because I already copied and pasted everything to Microsoft Word. So we don't tell you don't do it, we just say we notice what's going on, so please keep it down.
Okay, and Axel Springer and New York Times are big investors?
They're investors?
In Blendle?
Yes, so and that enabled us to go from Holland to Germany and now very soon also to the United States, which is super exciting because that means that also in Holland and in Germany people are able to read the American newspapers and magazines, and that also in the United States we get to launch this thing with a nice set of publishers over there.
One big question is always sharing. Like I'm reading an article, I've paid for it, I'm a member of Blendle and I want to share it to my Twitter, Facebook, whatever friends. What's happening then?
So when a user already has a Blendle account, then it's easy. It just comes out of your wallet automatically and it's super easy to read the article. If you're not a member yet, then you have to enter your email address. You get an email, click the email, and you read the article. We give you the 250 for free for all new users. So when you click a Facebook link, it's a paid article. We're not going to give it to you for free, but we give you a little bit money for free.
And the pricing, the price is set by the publishers, right?
Yes.
For every article.
Yes.
Did you have to talk to them and convince them not to price the article like 250 or 450?
It's an experiment, and I think what Blendle does is very new. It doesn't happen anywhere else, and the way publishers now work together in Holland and in Germany hasn't happened anywhere else. And I think one of the reasons why they do it is because it's an experiment that will show how much people are willing to pay on the internet for journalism. And people are willing to pay for music, they're willing to pay with Spotify, people are willing to pay with movies, with Netflix. But how much are people willing to pay for journalism? That's something we're going to be able to find out. And I think the prices that they set are part of the experiment. Maybe charge €2 for a super long article. Maybe that's worth €2. Or maybe something that's from the archive, it should be much cheaper. Or it should be way more expensive. We don't know yet. And that's what we're figuring out.
And what's the average price?
I think the average price for a normal newspaper article is about 20 to 30 cents.
20 to
for
30.
magazines, often a little bit more expensive because the articles are longer.
And how much money do people spend, do customers spend on average?
We don't say, but it's to me, obviously know the numbers, and it's super surprising how much people who never spent anything on journalism.
How do you know that?
We ask the users.
Okay.
We ask, do you have a subscription? And personally, I do not know anyone from under 40 that has a subscription to a newspaper. And a lot of our users are under 35. So now it's like the App Store. When you first got your iPhone or whatever, you weren't used to buying apps on your phone, and suddenly everyone is buying apps on their phone. It's a new channel, and it's actually quite a bit of money, and it started this whole industry. Now, if we can do something that helps content makers, journalists, makers of nice articles, if we can help them creating a revenue source so they can actually start making these great, beautiful, long-form, in-depth reporting, I think that's much better than what most of the news on the internet currently is like, which is quick news, 8 reasons of pictures why you like cats, etc. And that stuff doesn't work on Blendle because people will ask for their money back. So the only thing that does work is really original, in-depth reporting. And the fact that there's a revenue stream now for that makes me as a journalist really happy.
And are you open for independent publishers?
Sure.
Can they apply and put their stuff on, the bloggers and everything?
Yeah. So we started actually with Stefan Niggemeier, who is a media journalist in Germany. We started working with him just a couple of days ago, actually. Helping him generate money around his blog. And it's an experiment for us. It's a hobby. We started doing this on a Friday afternoon, just hacking it together, seeing what comes, and then it stuck a little bit. And now we're working with him, and now we're seeing some promising results and looking to work more.
And coming back to the average amount of money they spend, is it 10 euros, something like that?
We don't disclose the amount of money that people spend.
Why you don't?
Because it's information that to some extent could touch how much money the publishers make, and that's a secret.
Okay. And how do you think? How does it change? I mean, the other way around. You said it's an experiment. You're conducting this experiment for 1.5, 2 years right now. What have you learned so far? First, people are willing to pay.
People are willing to pay. Super important. I think there's also specific articles that people are willing to pay for. Not everything. It's important to say that people are not willing to pay for the news, for example. Yeah. If you just do news, short articles, facts, people get that on the web for free everywhere. It's a commodity. What people are willing to pay for is the more in-depth stuff. If you have a big story breaking, very often there's the news article and there's the very long, research piece or something like that. That last one, that's where people are willing to pay for. So it's interesting what people are willing to and not willing to pay for. I think what I've also learned is that publishers are now much more eager to do experiments like this than they were, for example, 3 years ago. A lot has changed, and now with Apple News and Facebook Instant Articles and all these new initiatives that come up, I feel like we're in the current is going quicker. It's faster right now, and they're willing to experiment with things that they would have never done before. And Blendle fits right into that hole, right? And I think even websites like BuzzFeed or Huffington Post or Business Insider, websites that only used to go for scale, are currently looking at ways they can make money actually from their users or direct connection with their users. And I think that's very healthy in a world where right now everything is being paid with ads and VC money in those cases. But for most publishers with ads, they're now looking to diversify the sources of income. And Blendle is something that they're willing to try now. And I see that as hopeful, not just for Blendle, but just for journalism as a whole, because it's changing now that it's so much on your phone. It's changing rapidly. And what I've learned is that they now are super eager to experiment.
And are you open for other type of media, podcasts, audio, video, or is it text?
Like right now, we're a 70-person team, mostly based out of the Netherlands, where all developers and designers are. And we cannot do everything at the same time. So we have to focus, and right now we're focusing on journalism, text journalism. But if a publisher has video with an article or audio with an article, we'll gladly include that. I think it can totally work for podcasts. When I see currently podcast apps, I'm itching a little bit because I almost want to get into that. But they always tell me that you have to walk first before you can run fast. So that's what we're doing.
All right. And how do you think this might change the whole ecosystem of publishing journalism, text journalism?
Because I think what's something that's very important and that should change is that traffic is moving to distribution platforms. So, it not so long ago, publishers were completely against doing anything on Google News. They were angry that Google, linked to Google News. And I think there's actually a lot of reasons to be angry at Google. There's a lot of reasons to be angry at Facebook. But at the same time, when you look at just users' behavior, they are on platforms, they're on apps, and where different things come together. And it's one thing to completely ignore that. I don't think that's right. I don't think you have to give up all control to platforms. That doesn't have to happen either. But there is some room in the middle there, and I think that's a step that all publishers are now figuring out what to do with that. How are we going to deal with Facebook Instant Articles and with Apple News and all that stuff? And how do we deal with our own website, and what place do we have in that?
Yeah, because that's a very, very important topic, because some say with all those platforms, we are afraid of those platforms because they have all the control, like
Yeah.
Facebook Instant Articles. We have no customer relation and all the publishing, all the journalism, what is ranked and shown where. Everything is depending on those platforms. We don't have any control over.
Yep.
It's done by not even by humans anymore. It's by algorithm. It's also frightening.
And also, the incentive for these platforms is traffic. It's getting more traffic. Like Facebook doesn't have an incentive to show the best journalism out there for every person. Their incentive is to have you look at something very quickly and go on to the next thing. And I actually do think that journalism is changing now a little bit because Facebook Instant Articles is getting a lot of traffic in countries like the United States, and the kind of articles being written actually changes because of the algorithm. And we saw this with search engine optimization before, we saw this with clickbait, with the upworthy kind of headlines on Facebook before. The algorithm changes what journalism is being written. Now, look at Apple News, look at Facebook Instant Articles. Do these platforms really support like the research, the quality journalism, the stuff that's original? Or do those platforms support the masses and just quick little stories that you click through really quickly and then go on to the next one? And do they try to make money with ads, or do they try to create extra revenue streams? I think the incentives are with ads, and the incentives are with creating a lot of news, small, quick stuff, which is exactly the opposite what a lot of publishers actually want, which is trying to get money other than ads, because that's what they've been doing for quite a while, and making money with the real journalism, the real quality journalism. And I think that's where we differ from most platforms out there right now. And I can totally see why a lot of publishers are kind of hesitant to work with Facebook, Google, Apple in that sense.
How much control do publishers have on your platform?
We give a lot of control to publishers, and the reason Blendle exists because of publishers. The only reason, you can build a store, but if there's no products in your store, then it's a pretty crappy store.
Well, developers in Apple's App Store say, well, we don't know our customers. We have no contact at all.
Exactly. So it's a very Dutch thing maybe to do business, but in the beginning we asked all publishers, do you want to join? This is what we're building. They all said no. No. And then we asked why, and they gave us all kinds of reasons. And what we did is we took all the reasons, we changed the product, gave them more control over a lot of things, basically, gave it back again to them. Now it's this, do you want it now? And then suddenly a lot of them said yes. So the company is actually built around serving publishers while at the same time making users happy.
And you don't have ads?
We don't have ads, no ads at all. Which is, I think, really nice. And kind of nice on the internet in a world where everyone is installing ad blockers, and I think I can understand why people do that.
I read that you said about Blendle that you are the Spotify of the news industry, but I think right now you are more or less an iTunes of the music, because before iTunes there were albums, CDs, they were sold as an album, then there were iTunes, was where you sold songs separately, and then there was Spotify where you have this flat rate. Now we have those newspaper subscriptions, then it's Blendle, you're selling single articles, and the next step would be flat rate, 9 euros a month for Blendle, and I get everything I want.
I would love that. I think it's something that we're technically ready for, but we want to do this in close cooperation with publishers. And we got to take this a step at a time. Before Spotify came, there was first iTunes, and I also think that the music business is very different from journalism. And the only goal is, the most important goal is to have good quality journalism being written. And I think if more people get subscriptions, they make more money by offering all-you-can-eat models, publishers will join. But as long as they're still having these direct relationship and getting subscribers out of individual persons, they might be a little bit hesitant to do something like that. But we're following this super closely, and publishers are definitely in charge in this one. But if publishers, are seeing these changes and want to do maybe bundles or something, or we can figure out what to do, we're excited to experiment. I feel like we're a lab. We're a lab that tries out these things and we see if it works.
Right. But one thing we observed with Spotify is that the value of each individual song has diminished. So what do you think? Will the flat rate diminish the value of every article?
I mean, there are some flat rate journalism products, but you cannot find, Der Spiegel in that, because Der Spiegel, the quality of their journalism is so much better than services that basically do price dumping, where you have a lot of articles, but the quality is not that great. So yeah, this is a hard choice, and I think that's why some publishers want to charge a bigger amount for their articles, because they think it's worth that money. And apparently it is worth the money, because people are not asking for their money back in huge amounts of cases. I think that says something.
And I was astonished that you don't have an app.
We have an app.
You have an app, an iOS
Sure.
app? Oh, I haven't found it then. Okay. Next
Search
question. We
again.
skip that.
Search again.
I search again. The other thing I wanted to ask you is the connection, the relationship between human-made journalism and algorithmically edited journalism. Blendle is a mixture between both.
Well,
right? Wouldn't you say so?
the content in Blendle is definitely written by humans.
Okay.
Everything is being done by humans. The selection of articles, so what you're getting as a user, it's a mix between humans and algorithms. So what happens is that the humans are editors who get up at 4 every morning to read all the newspapers. They select the stories that they think are most relevant to our users. And what the algorithm then does is filter that down to what's really interesting for you personally.
Okay.
So we keep track.
So first step is human,
yes,
and then second,
and then algorithm.
It's the personalization is done by the algorithm.
And in that way, we keep track of, if you read a lot of sports articles or a lot of technology, we won't bother you with business stories, or the other way around. And this gets better over time.
So, and next step, what do you want to improve?
We're seriously looking at doing stuff on the sites of publishers, working together with their paywall, so it's easier to use Blendle also on the sites of the publishers. That's a hobby that we're doing. We're building extra apps, enabling publishers to use Blendle for their app, for example, use our technology for that. It's figuring out ways to cooperate with these publishers. But the biggest thing for us is the United States. This is now everything. I'm focusing most of my time on the United States.
And how
right
far
now.
away is that?
This we'll launch in the United States in a couple of months, actually. So we don't have names to release yet of the publishers, but I can promise you it's looking very, very interesting.
And what will be different?
Well, in Germany we have Focus and Stern and Der Spiegel and beautiful newspapers and zu Deutsch beautiful newspapers and magazines. In the United States, it won't be of a lesser quality. It will be the same kind of really, really high-profile titles, which is, of course, super interesting because the US is so much bigger than Holland and Germany. It's frightening to some extent as a CEO, but at the same time, it makes me super excited.
All right, Alex. Thank you very much for your time, and thanks for the great product. I use it almost every day.
Good to hear.
And have a nice time on DLD.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much for watching. This is Philipp Banse from DLD16 in Munich for DCTP.tv. Check out our YouTube channel and DCTP.tv. Thanks for watching. Bye.